For this week's Gotcha, I've got my eye on former President Mike Pence, who wrote a truly grotesque op-ed this week within an extremely misleading title. Because who among us would disagree that, quote, election integrity is a national imperative? It's why Democrats are working to pass H.R. 1, the For the People Act. Now, it would take my whole show to debunk every lie in this piece. But here's a sampling of the former VP's dishonesty. The very first line pushes Donald Trump's big lie, referring to, quote, an election marked with significant voting irregularities. But of course, there were no widespread irregularities or fraud. Officials in every single state and the Trump administration's own attorney general have consistently upheld the integrity and security of November's election. Pence goes on to list some of the most popular parts of the bill, election reforms that were in place in many states for 2020 election, early voting, mail-in ballots, same-day voter registration. And he calls these common sense rules, quote, unconstitutional, reckless, and anti-democratic. Personally, I think ensuring that every eligible voter can exercise their constitutional right is the most democratic action lawmakers can take. But the GOP has always disagreed. Indeed, since the November election, Republicans in 33 states have introduced hundreds of laws meant to disenfranchise mostly black and brown voters. It's why Democrats introduced H.R. 1 in the first place. And this week, during a Supreme Court case that could challenge what's left of the Voting Rights Act, Republican operatives once again said the quiet part out loud.
What's the interest of the Arizona RNC here in keeping, say, the out-of-precinct ballot disqualification rules on the books?
Because it puts us at a competitive disadvantage relative to Democrats. Politics is a zero-sum game, and every extra vote they get through unlawful interpretations of Section 2 hurts us.
They know when all Americans have our votes counted, Republicans lose. So instead of trying to come up with more popular candidates and policies, they write misleading op-eds, pass state laws to suppress our votes, and argue before the Supreme Court itself that allowing every vote to be counted is somehow unfair. Pence's desperate scrambling for the approval of the Republican base is especially pathetic when you consider what they think of him these days. In a poll of CPAC attendees, Mike Pence got just 1% support for a possible 2024 presidential run, putting him on par with former HUD Secretary Ben Carson and Fox News host Tucker Carlson. It's not surprising, considering that some members of the GOP base were chanting "Hang Mike Pence" in the Capitol on January 6th. Mike Pence spent 4 years in lockstep with a president who represented the most vile interest in this country. He stayed silent in service to his pursuit of power. But apparently, no one ever told you, Mr. Pence, the Trump base never liked you and they never trusted you. And now the Trump train is off the rails. So is your political future. I got you.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.